As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 154, and we're talking a bona fide classic, or is it a badified classic? If this is your first ever episode of Remember the Game, they're not always that shitty in the first 30 seconds. That was pretty bad. Please don't leave. We're talking Batman for the NES. Batman, is it the best NES game based on like a popular franchise movie IP ever? I think that's debatable. There's certainly an argument for Chip and Dale and DuckTales and stuff like that, but I think Batman would have something to say about it. It's certainly very, very good. It's a contender for that title, at least, especially when you remember that it's coming from an era where there was just so many licensed games that were just horrible ass. Looking at you, Ghostbusters, motherfuckers. So anyway, my guest this week, returning to the Remember the Game arena, is the Robin to my Batman, my good friend, Mr. Brad Warren. This is going to be a good one because in the past, Brad's appeared on the podcast to talk about games such as Shaq Fu, the infamous Shaq Fu episode. But he gets a good game this week because once in a while, Brad gets something that doesn't suck. And we're going to get to that in just a minute because speaking of stuff that doesn't suck every once in a while, it's time for yet another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Thank you very much for listening, and consider this your warning. Our intros are pretty long, but they're fun. There's lots of video game talk and stuff like that. I think our intro is like the first 30 minutes of a superhero movie where you have to watch the villain's origin story, and it's this is the podcast's origin story every week. So this is how I became a villain, all right? We have merch, we have hoodies, we have t-shirts, coffee mugs, tank tops, all rocking sweet new Remember the Game art drawn by my friend Joe over at 4545creative.com. So you can find all of our merchandise at rememberthegamepodcast.com. If you're interested, it's a great way to support the show. And this stuff really, we've gotten nothing but good reviews. It's not horrible quality shit. I I ate a little bit of margin to get stuff that sucks a little bit less. So rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested in some merchandise. And of course, you can always support us on Patreon. We are moving hot and heavy toward 350 Patreons, which is 350 Patreons is 400 more than I thought we would ever get. I figured that by this time in the podcast lifespan, I'd be paying people $2 a month just to listen to the show. So I really, really appreciate it. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm being honest here, our Patreon is quite possibly the greatest deal in the history of humanity. Quite maybe. I mean, 2 slap chops for the price of one is pretty good. But remember the game's Patreon is right there because it's only $2 US per month and you get a ton of stuff. And then in addition to all that, you get 2 extra podcasts every week. You get exclusive access to both my gaming news podcast, Game Patch, and my gaming discussion show, Expansion Pass, each and every Friday and Sunday respectively, along with instant access to dozens. And I mean, like, there's almost 100 bonus podcasts sitting on there waiting for you already, like previous episodes. This past week, we actually reviewed E3 on a 2.5-hour marathon episode of Game Patch, which many of you have said you didn't hate. So thank you very much for listening to that. And then on Sunday last week, I counted down my top 10 favorite non-Nintendo franchises. And ranking episodes are always amongst our most popular episodes here on the show. And that one was really fun and way harder than I expected it to be. So as is becoming tradition, I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek at last Sunday's episode of Expansion Pass, my top 10 non-Nintendo series of all time. And we'll get her going with my number 10. And I frankly think that this game is good. This franchise is going to surprise a couple of people to be this high up on my list. But my 10th favorite non-Nintendo franchise of all time. Yeah, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. It kind of surprised me too when I was working through my list. I just what I do is I just open an Excel sheet. I have all the franchises I want to list, and then I just start with whatever one was at the top, and that automatically goes to number 1. Then I go to the second list, and then I slotted it either above or below that one, and then the third one slots wherever, fourth one slots wherever. That's how I do it, and I was shocked that when I was finished, Sonic snuck into the top 10. And here's the thing is, I've talked about this 100 times. I don't think his games are super great and super polished platformers. We've argued this 100 times. They are not as polished as a Mario game. They just aren't. I don't care what you say. But I've also always said how much I like the Sonic character. And the thing is, every time I play one of his games, I have fun. So that was last Sunday's episode. And now for this Sunday's episode, at number 65, our topic is in the hands of our audience. The final episode of Expansion Pass every month. Our supporters at our $5 level and above on Patreon get to submit topics for a poll, then vote in the poll to decide what the topic's going to be for the final Expansion Pass each month. And it's very close right now. The poll is running until, I believe, Thursday morning. Biggest gaming disappointments. My game of the year every year from 1985 to 2021, and top 10 villains are all kind of in a three-horse race to see which is going to be the topic for Expansion Pass this week. So that runs until Thursday. Chances are one of those is going to win. But again, $2 a month, $5 plus gets you to vote in that stuff and some other perks. But $2 a month is going to get you all those podcasts plus access to our Discord, the chance to vote in our Patreon poll every month, the ability to submit comments on all of our podcasts. You can DM with me, and you get a shout out here on the show and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. So a huge thank you to all of our newest Patreons, Neo Nevis, Andy Spilling, Brian Spritzer, Michael Clark, Inhuman Sumo, Chalupa Cabra, got it, Thomas Simmons, Sean Byron, Rocker Dude, and Saskatchewan River Pirate. Thank you all so much, and welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/Remember the Game. The show could not happen without all of you, so thank you. I have a P.O. box. You can find the full address over at rememberthegamepodcast.com, but if you just shoot me a letter, a postcard, something little, let me know where you're listening, and I'll shoot you a postcard back, and we'll be pen pals like I'm in prison, kind of. I actually got a really cool gift to the PO box this week from Brendan Hine. I hope I said your name right, Brendan. It's a full in-case with instruction manual and everything copy of Streets of Rage 2 for the Genesis. And it was actually Brendan's growing up. And he was like, I don't have my Genesis anymore. I know how much you've discovered and loved this game. I thought I'd really appreciate it. And I do really appreciate it. I think it's awesome because I think it's probably my favorite Genesis game. So if you've ever tuned into one of my Twitch streams or anything, I have a little shelf behind me that I am starting to fill with stuff from all of you, which is too much, but thank you. And it's now displayed proudly there beside my Bowser plushie because, yeah, Streets of Rage 2 fucking kicks ass. So thank you, Brendan. Speaking of my Twitch streams, you can find me on Twitch at Member the Game, not Remember the Game. It's completely free to follow me, and then it'll tell you whenever I log in online, and then you can just come hang out and break my balls. Now, in the past, we've had a schedule of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Frankly, I'm finding it too difficult to keep up with now that comedy's getting back and all the podcasts and some other stuff I have going on. Twitch is going to kind of become a hobby. There's not going to be a locked in schedule necessarily for it. I'm not looking to grow it. I'm not looking to become the biggest Twitch streamer in the world or anything like that. I really do enjoy it. I have a lot of issues with fucking tech because I suck at this stuff, but it's a lot of fun to just get to hang out with the community and play video games and chat. So I'm going to keep streaming. I don't think I'm going to have a locked in schedule. It's going to be when I have time and when I'm feeling it and when I can get the fucking technology to work. So your best bet, again, is completely free. Twitch.tv, look for Member the Game. Just hit me with a follow, and then anytime I log on, it'll tell you. And then if you want to come by and look at my stupid face while I play video games, you are invited to do that. All right? There we go. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you with blowing in the cartridges, our opening segment here on the show every week. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. And before I get into reading the comments and everything, a couple of you messaged me about Dragon Ball Z because on one of the shows this week, I think Game Patch, there's 4 a week now. I can't keep track of all of them. But on one of the podcasts this week, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came up. And I asked, is Dragon Ball Z like the main guy? That little guy in orange with the blue hair, because I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z, and a few of you broke my balls about it pretty hard, and Stupid Monkey made me chuckle. He sent me a message and said, no one owns their ignorance, no one owns their own ignorance. Ooh. No one owns their own ignorance. Say that 10 times fast. No one owns their own ignorance like you. And that made me feel very nice. Thank you. I do own my own ignorance very, very, very hard. So thanks, Stupid Monkey. I appreciate that. I'm in a good mood. Feel like fucking around a little bit here. Let's get through as many of these as we can. Andy Hudson wrote in and said, I know that you're a Tetris 99 fan, well, a Tetris fan in general. So I just thought I'd ask, what's your biggest frustration with Tetris 99? What brings out angry Adam more than anything? For me, it's pressing the wrong rotate button. I'll hit that rotate automatically, instinctively, but if you press the wrong one, it goes the wrong way and can destroy a game very quick. Yeah, I do. I play a lot of Tetris 99. We play it on stream most Tuesdays. Like I've got fucking 200 some hours into it. And I actually only use one rotate button at all times. Always. It's just for that very reason. So I stick to one. My biggest, if anyone's come by my Twitch streams, you're going to know exactly what I'm fucking about to say. I make a lot of stupid mistakes because I play really fast. And I think I make less mistakes when I'm not on Twitch. I think when I'm on Twitch, there's a small part of me that wants to show off and go as fast as I can. But I'll just make stupid fucking mistakes where I drop a piece one grid space to the left or right of where I wanted it and just fuck everything up. And I do that all the time. I bet you I'd have another 24 wins on Tetris 99 if it wasn't for the amount of times I've beat myself with a fucking stupid mistake. So that is my biggest, by a mile, that's my biggest problem. And it has nothing to do with, I think Tetris 99 is practically flawless. It is all on me. I'm the one making the fucking stupid mistakes. Boy, I love Tetris 99. Rogue Agent wrote in and said, Mr. Blank, following listening to your mammoth of a podcast of a recap on E3, it finally clicked to me the other day why I pay my hard-earned money of £2 English a month for this show. Unlike most podcasters out there, you speak from the heart and you're not out here just sucking everyone else's slong. Honest and straight talking, it feels like most podcasters say buzzwords to try to get free promos from publishers. But you call the shenanigans on the hype trains others try to build up. For example, I see some people justifying Final Fantasy on mobile, which we all know is a corporate dick move. P.S. When will my lanyard reach the UK? I'm still waiting patiently. Thanks, Rogue Agent. So to address your lanyard, most people have received theirs now. And for those of you that don't even know what the fuck we're talking about, I ran a promo almost half a year ago now, saying if you signed up for the Patreon between a certain time and a certain time, you would get a lanyard. I do still have more lanyards here. I'm going to be actually putting them up for sale pretty soon if you're interested in one, but I'll deal with that later. Rogue Agent, I do know, I actually just got a message the other day from someone in Australia that just got their lanyard. So if you live outside of North America, I think all of them have been delivered here in North America now. But I know that some of them go into like the city of Great Britain and the metropolis of Australia. They just take a long time to get through customs. So keep your eyes out. They should still be showing up. I do have a shipping slip for every single one, but I don't think it came with tracking numbers for all of them. That'd be a bitch to go through. But anyway, they're on the way. I'm telling you, they're coming. And quickly, as far as your comment on my E3 podcast, thank you. I didn't want to read all the compliments I got here on the show because I didn't want the segment to become Adam Blows himself. But I really do just want to say, like, I read all of them personally. I want you to know I'm not ignoring any of you. I personally read every comment you guys leave in every segment for the show on Patreon. But I did see all of the kind words about the E3 episode. And yeah, I thank you. That was a big undertaking. And I'm glad so many of you appreciated it. So thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. I saw the comments. You guys know how to make a girl feel pretty. Thank you. Wolfgang Darren wrote in and just said, go Habs. You're fucking right, go Habs. I'm not going to derail the show by talking about sports, but I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. And as I record this, it is Tuesday morning. They play Game 5 tonight, and they're in the semifinals. So it's them in Vegas. Best of 7. They're tied at 2. Winners going to the Stanley Cup Final. And the Montreal Canadiens have not been to the Stanley Cup Final since 1993 when they won it. So holy fuck, I'm in a good mood. I'm fucking excited. And Josh Valentini, Josh, because I'm sure I just butchered your last name. Josh wrote in and said, not a gaming question, but are you watching the Euro? And if so, who are you cheering for? Just curious. Keep up the great work, man. Thanks, Josh. I'm not watching the Euro. I'm just not a football guy, as I know you chaps like to refer to the great sport of soccer over there. So I would say I'm cheering for Canada. I don't know if they're in. If they're not in, then I'm cheering for Finland. Because Finland's the country I always cheer for the most outside of Canada in like hockey tournaments and stuff. And if Finland's out too, then I'm cheering for the city of Great Britain. So that's my picks for the Euro. Troy wrote in and said, hey, Adam, I heard your comment on putting peanut butter on hamburgers, and I also do that. It just works so damn well on everything from sweet to savory. It's a universal food, and it's the Super Mario world of condiments. This is more of a blowing peanut butter comment, but it's well-deserved. Good job, peanut butter. Keep up the good work. Goddamn right. See, we're paying respect to people and teams and fucking food products that deserve respect. Peanut butter on hamburgers. So many people have yelled at me for this. I don't put it on every hamburger I have, but it's really good on hamburgers. Fucking try it. It's probably my favorite food, peanut butter. Like, I'll put it on almost anything. But it's really good on hamburgers. So just, if you're going to come in here and shit on me for putting peanut butter on my hamburger, you better fucking try it first. Because Troy knows what's up. So do I. It's fucking delicious. Okay, now we'll talk a little bit of video games before we move on. Emily Luna wrote in and said, hey, Adam, so now that E3 is over, we've seen two basic approaches to presentations. Most had a more long-term approach, showing games coming in the next year or two, and the other, like Nintendo, showing a short-term approach of games coming in the next few months. Which approach do you feel makes more sense for E3? A long-term approach showing what's coming over the next couple of years, or a short-term approach hyping up your next few months of releases? You know what? That's a really good fucking question, Emily, because I mean, I think by and large, I can speak for most of us when I say that, like, the short-term presentation is obviously more satisfactory because there's nothing worse than seeing 4 or 5 games that you're fucking hyped to shit about and then finding out you're not going to be playing them for another year and a half, at least. Like that, So like the Metroid Dread announcement, part of the reason that thing just fucking hit so hard with everybody was because they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's coming out in October. Because I was expecting a 2022 date on that, and they were like, no, you'll be playing it in 3 months or 4 months or July, August, September, 4 months. They're like, yeah, you'll be playing. I use my fingers for that too, but they're like, you'll be playing that in just a few months, and I was like, holy shit. So I think short term is obviously the ideal scenario, but I also think. Like, was there a company at that showcase, or pardon me, at E3 this year that could have done a short-term presentation outside of Nintendo? Like, maybe Ubisoft. Ubisoft had quite a few. But that might have been it. So, I mean, I guess I'll take a long-term presentation over nothing. I prefer a short-term presentation over a long-term presentation. The problem I have isn't so much, I don't have a problem with presentations showing us games that are coming in the next year or two. As long as you actually show us games. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when it's a presentation where they're like, here comes your next big announcement. And it's like, oh yeah, at some point, fucking, I don't know, fucking Cole from Infamous is going to be a skin in Fortnite. We don't know when, but someday. And it's like, there was nothing about that needed to be an announcement. If you're going to announce like Starfield, they were like, yo, Starfield's coming. It's going to be Xbox exclusive. It's coming November 2022. I'm like, all right, that's a legitimate long-term presentation. You've given us a hardish date. Or no, they gave us an exact date. I think it was November 11th, 2022. But anyway, or 22nd, whatever. They gave us a hard date. They're like, this thing is Xbox exclusive because I know you've all been wondering. Boom. I don't mind if you're going to do long-term as long as there's still something there. And I think with Xbox's presentation in particular, they kind of had to go long-term because the knock has always been Xbox has no games. Xbox has no games. And I think Xbox really needed to come out and show people like, hey, we have spent literally billions and billions of dollars on studios and getting this Game Pass infrastructure in place. We have games coming, and here they all are, and you should get a new one every couple of months tops. And I think that made sense for them. Whereas Nintendo, they're going into a holiday season with hardware that's fucking 4 years old up against the PS5 and the Xbox Series everything. They had to be like, yo, we have lots of games. Don't worry about those new expensive consoles. Look what we have. So I think there's a place for both. I don't know if I have I guess my preference is short term, but I think there's a place for both. As long as just like I said, I don't give a fuck if your announcement's 5 years out. Just give us something of substance as opposed to just fucking fluff. That's where I get riled up. Thanks, Emily. It's a good question. And I should say for the record, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just an idiot with an opinion. That's all. I have no connections to this business or inside information whatsoever. I'm just a nerd who really likes video games. That's all I is. Johnny CCDC wrote in and said, I was thinking about Sonic and Knuckles the other day and wishing there was backwards compatibilities used in other franchises. Imagine playing the original Super Mario Brothers as Princess Toadstool or getting to use Yoshi as Super Mario Brothers 3. What other franchise would you like to see this tech used on? So if you don't know, Johnny's talking about the lock-on technology. I love that term. Where he used to be able to take the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge and you could plug it, you put it into the Genesis, and then you could drop Sonic 3 or Sonic 2 into the top of Sonic and Knuckles and then play them as Knuckles, which is really, really, it was like the first DLC in a way. It was a really cool idea. And you know what, Johnny? As soon as I read your comment, Mega Man was the first one that popped into my head. Imagine if you could take Robot Master abilities and just like interchange them between fucking Mega Man games. Oh, fuck, that'd be so hot. I need a cold shower. That would be fucking hot. So that would be, I was going to say maybe Mario Kart because it'd be cool to move tracks around, but like they're all different generations. Whereas like outside of Mega Man 7, 8, and 11, like 1 through 6, 9, and 10 all look the same. You could totally just interchange weapons in that. So that would be my pick, I think. Plus, imagine an NES cartridge slide into the NES and then trying to stick another one into that one. You'd have it sticking out fucking 8 inches out of the front of that'd be fucking, just draw this chain of fucking NES cartridges sticking out horizontally as opposed to the Genesis Tower of Power. Fuck, I love old video games. It's a good question too, Johnny. And finally, we're going to wrap this up with letter time. It's letter time. And Raul wrote into us on Patreon and said, just some random thoughts. I've seen so much negativity recently around gaming due to E3, cross-generation games, broken launch games, etc. While all this can be a bit frustrating, isn't it also cool just how many generations of games we have at our immediate disposal? Last night, I played some Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate on my PlayStation 5 and then followed it up with the original Metroid on my Switch. It's like getting an awesome shot of all the amazing things modern games bring with some dosage of sweet nostalgia about how games were in the early years. Sometimes I like having a balance of playing games from the old and the new school, and it always reminds me of why I love this hobby so much. Keep up the good work. Well fucking said, my friend. I agree. And like, a few people messaged me after that E3 podcast, because at the end of my E3 episode, I kind of shit on people that are just negative all the time. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with voicing your displeasure or if you're not happy about something. But some people, I feel like they're just in this hobby to bitch. And just in case you're wondering, because some of you asked if I was talking about you, I wasn't talking about anyone in particular, just for the record. But I can't agree with you more, Raul. I love talking about that kind of stuff, man. Like now admittedly, I know not everyone can afford to just have every console, and I'm certainly not rich, but I'm very blessed that I've got, some disposable income that I can blow on this hobby. But like sitting right behind me here on my TV stand, I have a PlayStation 5 with my Xbox Series X, my Nintendo Switch, just those three systems. I also have a PS3 under there and a GameCube. And then I've got an NES, SNES, PlayStation, and Sega Genesis Classic that have all been tweaked, we'll word it kindly, and may have some extra games added to them. And it's like, yeah, dude, remember, like, I know a lot of you are around my age. I'm 37. We grew up in the 80s and the 90s. Remember when you would get like one new game for Christmas and you would just play that for 6 months? And now it's like, I literally have hundreds of video games just sitting here. And even if you take out all the ones that are tinkered onto the mini consoles, I still have a mountain of games just on PlayStation and Xbox and Switch. Look at all the games you can get, all the indie games. You fire up your Nintendo Switch and there's a ton of NES and SNES games on there. I understand how easy it is to be critical of this hobby, and I think some people are critical of gaming today because they're passionate about it and they just want the best for their business. And I think some people are just critical of the hobby because they're fucking cunts and they can't enjoy anything in life, and so they have to just bitch about the thing that they should be enjoying. And I think there's a mix of both in them in here. And I mean, you guys, anyone that's, chances are most of you have been listening to my show for quite a while. I can be negative about gaming, but I make an incredibly conscious effort to try to see his gaming from as glass half full perspective as I possibly can, because it is my passion. More than stand-up comedy by a mile, more than sports, more than just about everything I do in my day. I love video games. I truly love this business. This is my favorite thing to do with my time. So I try my best to not focus too much on the negative, and I just look at the positives. And I agree. I think we're about to enter. I truly think we're entering another golden era. I've always considered the Sega Nintendo console wars of the 90s to be the golden era of video games, and I think the 3D version of that is coming right now. And it's going to be fucking wild. And there's more games than you could ever play right now at your fingertips for every budget, for every taste. So instead of focusing on the negative and complaining about games that don't exist or the game that you don't like, try to just focus on, dude, if you can't find a video game you like right now, you need to get a new hobby. It's that simple. There's a video game out there for everyone. So just try to focus on that. I can't agree with you more, Raul. I try not to even read the fucking comments on Twitter and Reddit. I don't go on Reddit very much anymore. I don't go on Twitter very much anymore. I basically just post and check my mentions and bounce. I just don't have time for it. I'm like, dude, grow up. Fucking grow up. There it is. Oh my God. Fucking people complain too much. All right. Thank you to everyone that wrote in this week. I know I can't read all the comments. Keep sending them, guys. I do read all of them. And if you're ever really curious about something you've asked and I didn't answer it on the show, feel free to DM me. I'm happy to answer anything you guys want over on the old Patreon device. All right? Thank you, everybody. Let's change it up and let's get into our Smash Hit segment here every week. Play one, remake one, erase one. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week, I give our listeners 3 retro video games. Every time I read that part, I want to go 3 retro video games. And I don't know why I want to roll it like 3. Anyway, every week I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released. They can remake one as a modern game. And the third game is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a correct one, and we'll get there in just a minute. This week, since we're talking Batman, I thought we'd run a NES games based on old movies iteration of the show. And our contestants this week are Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, and Ghostbusters, all for the NES. So, and according to our poll, the runaway popular answer with 41% of the vote, you guys would play Ghostbusters, remake Back to the Future, and erase Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which blows me away. And I understand how some of you are like, you can't erase Ghostbusters, it's a national institution. You're right, but that video game is not. And that's the way wrong answer. 12% of you got it right this week. And I'll tell you what the right answer was in just a second. Let's have a look at some of the wrong answers first. And I gotta say, I don't always read all of the people that write in and break the rules and just start cheating crumb bums. I don't always do that. But a ton of you this week wrote in and said, these all suck. I refuse to play. Well, I don't refuse to put every single one of you motherfuckers on double secret probation. All right? Obey the rules. Why would you be like going on Wheel of Fortune and then be like, this puzzle sucks, and refusing to spin the wheel? The difference is Pat Sajak is a scared little man, and Adam Blank, sitting behind his microphone in his townhouse where nobody knows where he lives, is fucking fearless. So you're all on double secret probation. Fuck off. Every week, more and more people write in and say, I guess I have to play by the rules. And every time I read that comment, I just laugh like Mr. Birds, because it means my plan is fucking working. But you fucking kids, man. When I use 3 good games, you guys write in, this is too hard, I can't erase one, I can't play. And then when I give you 3 bad games, you're all like, these all suck, it's too hard, I can't play. You can't fucking win. Electronic Emotions Program wrote in and said, play Back to the Future. It is as fun as you make it. Or pardon me, yeah, it's as fun as you make it, even if that fun comes from making fun of it. That's a good point. Remake Roger Rabbit. Maybe if Roger Rabbit got enough attention, a miracle could happen where we get a decent sequel or something just as good inspired by it. And then erase Ghostbusters. The only redeeming value in this game is that you can play as Ghostbusters. There are many better ways to do that now. So bust the busters. You threw a lot of... You made... It was incredibly well worded, EEP, but like, even if that fun comes from making fun of it, that tripped me up for just a second. Remake Roger Rabbit, you didn't do anything wrong there, but I was just like, remake, and then bust the busters. You guys know I can't read, and you're making it tricky. But anyway, I can get on board with all your logic. Holy Christ, would I love a sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You didn't have the right answer, but you get to take home, you get the home version. You get the consolation prize, because that was a good write-up. Kaiser Dragon wrote in and said, that selection. Saying this, I'll still play this game because it's the highlight of my Wednesday mornings. Humble little brag for you there, Adam. Thanks, Kaiser. I appreciate that. Kaiser said, play Roger Rabbit. I didn't play it back in the day. I didn't even know it was a game. I loved the film, so I will try it. Remake Ghostbusters. This game was awful and needs that remake shine. Albeit the recent Ghostbusters game was good, let's keep a remake of the original as the same style but with better gameplay, enhanced graphics, and a story, and then erase Back to the Future. Absolute pants. Bin it. We will still have the Telltale games, which are golden. And then Dragon wrote in and said, edit. I've played Roger Rabbit now. Still keeping my order, but what a pile of shit. This play one, remake one, erase one is to be crowned the shit storm of Pish Games edition. And that made me laugh that someone would come back and edit their comment and be like, oh, fuck, I played that game. That sucked. That made me laugh. And I also like absolute pants. I've never heard that, but maybe I've heard it on here before, but to call something pants, I like that. Wrong order. But I respect the logic behind it, absolutely. And I agree that Back to the Future is absolute pants. I'm aboard with that. Brian Spreitzer wrote in and said, all 3 games are just poor, to say it nicely. They do not showcase the NES properly, nor do they represent the respective movies fairly. And yes, I get at the time there were many limitations on the hardware. If it was up to me, I'd erase all 3, but I will play by the rules. Yeah, see? Brian said, first, I play Roger Rabbit. Of the 3, this is the game I found the most playable. Sure, it has many flaws and at times frustrated me to the point of insanity, but hey, at least I had a sense of accomplishment as I progressed and completed the game, which is not an easy task. No, it isn't. Second, I'd remake Ghostbusters, a brilliant movie that got a horrible NES game. Modernizing the game, fixing the controls, and perhaps having the game properly explain what you're supposed to do could make it fun and more interesting. And then finally, erase Back to the Future. It's really a toss-up when deciding which to erase between Ghostbusters and Back to the Future. In the end, I would rather fight ghosts than get Marty back to his proper year. I will say watch the movie Back to the Future, but don't waste time with the NES game. I wish it never existed. That's cold, Brian. I wish it never existed. That's fucking vicious. But the thing is like, I don't agree with your orders necessarily, but I do agree with everyone that's like, all three of these games suck. So in that sense, there really isn't a wrong order this week because you're going to get rid of one of them. You're going to get to fix one of them, and then we're stuck with the third. So I can get on board with any of them, but none of you have been right so far. But I appreciate the logic. That was very well written, too. Good job, Brian. Andrew Wright wrote in and said, first off, Erase Back to the Future. The way it was designed, the most it could ever be was a half-assed version of Paperboy, which is a bad fucking choice. Side note, Paperboy needs a review. Actually, I agree with that, Andrew. We are going to. At some point, we'll cover Paperboy on this show. I love Paperboy. Andrew says, remake Ghostbusters. Buried underneath the ugly sack of shit that is this game, a quality IP and story exists. The right development team could make this a classic. And then I play Roger Rabbit. The game might be difficult, but there are some funny moments and a quality puzzle solve. Who am I kidding? This game sucks too, but at least it's somewhat tolerable and entertaining compared to the other two. So, dude, I never thought of comparing Back to the Future to Paperboy, but that's a fucking... And how the fucking, like... Oh, just fuck. Of these three movies, the only one that even needed a game at all was Ghostbusters. And you, like, that to me, that's the one that translates best into a game, and you could argue that's the worst game of the three. I really did pick three duds this week. You guys are right. Troy wrote in and said, play Ghostbusters, remake Back to the Future, and erase Roger Rabbit. These games all need a nostalgia goggles filter. If they played today, as rad as I remembered them from my childhood, I'd break the rules and play them all. But I know they're actually all ass, so I'll follow the rules and pick them arbitrarily. Another man that's following the rules now. My empire. You had the wrong answer as well, but thank you. I appreciate the sentiment, and I agree. I played all three of these as a kid as well, and I liked playing all three of them as a kid. And the only one I've played at all in the last like 30 years is Ghostbusters, and now I know it's not very good, but you all had the wrong answer. 12% of you had the right answer, including Mr. Satan, Doug Dorn, Makeshift Money, Wolfgang Darren, and Kyle Dodd, who wrote in and said, play Roger Rabbit. I played it as a kid, and it's fine. Erase Ghostbusters because it's terrible, and the Ghostbusters game on PS4 is fantastic, and is basically a third movie. And then remake Back to the Future because it is a great franchise that deserves a good game. And you know what, Kyle? Swish. Fucking nailed it. That's exactly what I would do. I personally would play Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say definitively that Roger Rabbit is a good video game because I don't think it is. But it tried a lot of stuff, which I respect. It put some of that puzzle solving in there. It tried to work the mystery in. I didn't hate this game growing up. I fucking love this movie. So I'm not going to erase its game. I refuse to erase its game. Of these three, if I had to play one for the rest of my life, it would probably be Roger Rabbit. And I considered remaking this one because I think that a remake of this could be fun, but I would much rather remake Back to the Future. So that's the one I'm going to remake because those movies, not the third, I hate Back to the Future 3, but the first two Back to the Future movies deserve an infinitely better game than they got. There's so much you could do with that, like time travel and stuff. You could maybe make it into like a puzzle game. I love it. I remake Back to the Future and just make something good out of it. And then I erase Ghostbusters. And look, you all know how much I love Ghostbusters. My favorite movie of all time. I'm obsessed with Ghostbusters. And I played this game like a motherfucker as a kid. I love this game. I beat it for the first time. Fair and square, no cheating last year. I got up those stairs. I know. I keep meaning to post a Let's Play of it just to prove that I can beat it. But the game is not good. It doesn't explain what you're supposed to do. You don't get to, like, Winston's not in it. You just play as generic Ghostbusters. You play one song over and over and over and over and over and over. It's not good. And the reason I'm erasing it is twofold. One, the franchise lives on because it was a movie first. We just didn't get the crappy video game version of the movie. And two, we got the modern Ghostbusters game all those years ago, which is everything I imagined the NES game being as a kid when it wasn't. So, and I keep meaning to play it. I have it on my Genesis. Apparently the Genesis version of Ghostbusters is the fucking tits. So I gotta play that soon. So we don't need this game, all right? So fuck this. Erase Ghostbusters. Sorry, not sorry. Done. Good stuff. Thanks for playing this week, everybody. I appreciate it. What have I been playing over the last 7 days? And then we'll talk about Batman. Mostly Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart on my PS5. I actually just finished it Monday night. It's done. And this weekend's expansion pass is up to our listeners. Next weekend's expansion pass, which will be the first one in July, episode 66. I'm probably going to do my spoiler-free review of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. But like, quick note, really, really good. If you like any of the other Ratchet & Clanks, play this one. It's fucking awesome. And it gets me so excited about to see what this generation of games is going to be like once developers start using the next-gen hardware. Because Ratchet & Clank was just silky smooth and wicked. Still playing MLB The Show because I'm a hopeless addict who can't stop playing MLB The Show. And I'm actually just getting ready to hop into Jet Set Radio. Probably going to do that later today because that won this month's Patreon poll and I got to bomb through that bad boy. So, fuck yeah. And I'm still thinking around in Returnal. And I have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, the Yuffie DLC, downloaded. I played about an hour of it last night. Seems just as good as the original game so far. But I got to put more time into it. So I'm playing lots. I haven't had any comedy over the last few days compared to the week before. So I got lots more time to play video games, which is mwah. All right, there you go. Let's talk Batman. I know that's why you're here. The main event. As always, I like to give you nerds a chance to share some of your memories about whatever game we're playing before my guest and I rant for an hour or so. And we got a lot of comments from you guys about this one. Jerry Robinson wrote in and said, every episode, you got me in a time machine back to my childhood. My cousin had this along with Tetris and Super Mario, and we'd play it over and over forever. Fuck yeah, Jerry. I'm glad that I make you feel like you're in a time machine, Jerry. That's all I wanted this to be, was just a trip back to the old days. So that makes me feel good. Chris Copland wrote in and said, this game is such a gem. The way it uses wall jumping to navigate through levels is a lot of fun, even if it can be frustrating. That being said, even though it can be very difficult, it feels fair. And in typical Sunsoft fashion, the soundtrack is killer. One of my favorite NES games for sure. I agree with all that, Chris. The soundtrack slaps. And this game can be so tough and very frustrating. But I also feel like it's fair. It just takes practice. This is the epitome of a perfect NES game. It's very difficult, but if you just sit down and play it over and over and you practice, you will be able to, you can finish it. And I love that. Yeah. Troy wrote in and said, I only played the Game Boy version, but I think it's similar. I could only get to the Batwing level, and I could have really benefited from save states as a kid. You only have so much patience as a child to start from the beginning of that fucking game every time. The soundtrack is hella deadly. You know what's funny, Troy? I didn't play this too much as a kid. I played it more as an adult on the NES, but I had the Game Boy version as well, and I do think they were quite similar. The Game Boy one was actually pretty good too. Pee Pee Poo Poo Cuckoo Pants wrote in and said, this was the first game I ever bought. Similar to Darth Obvious, I went with the intention... Oh, sorry, Darth. I don't think you're commenting. Oh, boy, that's awkward. Well, Darth, consider yourself read as well. I can't read all of them. Sorry. But anyway, PP wrote in and said, similar to Darth, I went with the intention of getting Mario 3, but it was sold out, so I got Batman instead. Based on how much I loved the movie, I figured it was a pretty safe bet, and I was right. I loved this game. It felt so good to do that wall jump. I recently played it again, and it's still good today. Growing, grabbingly good. I know I finished it many times as a kid, but fuck me, I can't do it now. I guess I'm getting too old for this shit. Yeah, I feel like I was... In some respects, I feel like I was better at games as a child than I am now, but it absolutely, I'm telling you guys, as you're about to hear in the podcast, this game holds up. It's as playable today as it was back then, no question. Good A wrote in and said, after having to give my thoughts on all these games, I realized I didn't beat a lot of them growing up. This game is not an exception. I can say I had fun playing the first 2 levels of this game many times. I love that. And Jesse Clark wrote in and said, son of a bitch. Hulk Hogan, eat your heart out. It finally fucking happened. Man, Adam, I have been waiting for this day. Batman is one of the best fucking NES platformers out there. And I know how you love difficult platformers. This one is right up your alley, my friend. Just wait for the Clock Tower and Joker himself. I burned through this game for like a week straight until I finally had it memorized and beat it. My ex-wife was there to witness it, and she couldn't fucking believe it. She lost her shit. She grew up thinking the game was impossible to beat. I have not beaten it. I've come very close, but I haven't beaten it yet. But I got really into it for a few weeks, and I was playing it like a motherfucker, and I was like, I'm gonna keep playing this until I'm good enough to beat it, and then it just kind of fell down my list, and I didn't go back to it. But I gotta go back to it, because I played it again just in time for this podcast, and I was like, fuck, this game is just so much fun. It looks good, it plays good, it sounds good, it's good. It's a good video game, and we're gonna talk about it right now. I'm gonna cue up some Batman music. Fucking soundtrack in this game kicks ass. And when it stops, my buddy Brad and I are going to talk all about Batman the video game, which originally released on the NES in North America on December 22nd, 1989. Fuck, that's a long time ago. Enjoy the podcast. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs, and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. All right, joining me we'll go with the bat phone. Normally it would be the blank phone, but it only seems fitting this week to call it the bat phone. So joining me via the bat phone, and dude, it's the old 1960s Adam West red bat phone, by the way, the best of all the bat phones, is my good buddy, Mr. Brad Warren. How's it going, pal?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. Dude, just quick, did you ever watch the old Adam West Batman? You must have.
Of course.
So you know the red phone that I'm talking about.
From school.
Yeah.
Used to come home from school and it would be on, man. Batman. Adam West running with the bomb over his head.
Oh, I love Adam, dude.
It's one of the greatest photos ever. I to this day, I kind of regret not buying that sign by Adam West.
I argue all the time that I think Adam West is the golden standard for Adams everywhere. Like as a species, we Adams can't get any better than Adam West.
He did have a good career.
And I don't care. Man. He's the best Batman. He's the best Batman. I know he's not actually the best Batman. I know. Well, don't yell at me, man. Everybody.
No, don't do that.
We all know that Val Kilmer is the best Batman. And now we can move on.
George Clooney was quite good.
Dude, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I don't hate Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. I'm not saying they're good movies, but I don't hate those movies. I don't give a fuck. Yell at me if you want. Email me at memberthegame@gmail.com. Let me have it. I don't hate those movies.
Well, the problem is, Adam, is that a lot of people blame the actors. And that's the funny part, is that they didn't write it.
No.
It's like in those scenes that have come out recently of Arnold as Mr. Freeze, and he's caught on a hot mic, as you know, everybody does get caught. But he's on a mic saying, can you believe we got paid for this shit?
Yeah.
and it's an over the top movie that, like, if you're comparing it to any of the new ones, it's like, guys, this is a different universe.
Or the first two of the the ones, even. It's obviously they're not as good, but I like those. I don't know why I like them. I just like them.
Man, like it is what it is, and it's. I'm at the point in that superhero universe, and especially Batman. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like Michael Keaton is supposedly going to be Batman in the new Flash movie.
Yeah,
like he goes into a different universe
or something. Yeah.
Right. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, okay, now let Tim Burton do another Batman movie where he's in that Michael Keaton's Batman again in that world.
Isn't Michael Keaton like 70 years old?
Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
No, he's not that old. He's in probably his 50s.
Like, can he still pull off? Can he still pull off a Batman?
Hey man, Harrison Ford's in his 70s doing another Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
can do it.
And how did the last Indiana Jones turn out?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I'm a huge fan of Indiana Jones. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, there was only ever 3. The fourth one never happened. So thank you everybody for listening to Remember the Movie. We'll be
Yeah,
back. No,
yeah, thank you.
So
Good
okay,
night.
but now that's a good tie-in because we're talking Batman for the NES this week, and it's funny because
Well-
before we started recording, you and I were just, we try to save our conversations about the game for the podcast itself because it's very hard to rehash. And dude, especially in the early days of this podcast, I had a horrible habit of talking about the game with my guest for like 45 minutes and then being like, okay, let's record. And then we just basically have to try to say what we just said again, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. We
So-
had to stop ourselves.
So we stopped this conversation, but when I got you on the phone and we got talking about how we were going to cover this game, you brought up that like this because this is a good game. I think most people that have played it would say it's
Right.
too hard.
Don't spoil it yet. Don't spoil it. We'll get to it.
okay. It's
Like I think we should start with the positives.
well, no, but I just wanted to say like, and we'll get more into this in a minute. But you were like this, and I'm not shitting on you for this, but you were like this is not like the movie, and then I said I never really thought it was trying to be like the movie. But then you brought
Right.
up that like it did come out around the same time and it does have the same Joker and it does have the Batman and I was like, the more I thought about it, because I have seen the first Batman movie, it's just been a long time.
Yeah.
But the more I
Yeah.
thought about it, I was like, you know what? It is like, yeah. Because I
They added the
I just
cutscenes. Like the cutscenes are the movie. Well, we'll get to the end. I don't want to spoil it, but I will. I have a great line for that ending. But
sorry, I just had to move my headphones. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. To me, it's like when the game opens, they show Jack Nicholson
Yeah.
as Joker,
Yeah.
and it's a great shot. Again, some of these games back in the day, the way they did the pixelations and everything like that, they really captured the look of them. Then they showed Vicky Vale, who she didn't look like Kim Basinger, but that again, it's a Nintendo game. And then they show Batman, who clearly is the Batman from the movie. And you brought it up, I forgot about it. They show the Batmobile driving down the street, and it's the Batmobile from the film.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're right.
that's it.
You're right. I just never put one and one together. And I just always looked at it as there was just like a standalone, like just for argument's sake,
A Batman
like the first
game. You
Ninja
just thought
Turtles.
it was the first Batman game.
Yeah, like the first Ninja Turtles video game wasn't like the first movie. And so I just never put it together. But you're right. It
Yeah.
is kind of a lot like this is like I'm on the Wikipedia page right now and it does say it was loosely based on the 1989 film.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like,
No.
only in the sense that Batman and the Joker are in it, I guess. But like,
Right.
Okay, but now, so fair enough. That makes me look. I never put one and one together. Having said all that, particularly going back to the era of 1989, 1990, when every movie got a video game and 90% of the movie video games were bad. This game, well, too hard, and we'll get there. And I don't
Yes.
want to say it's too hard because I think I could beat this game with some practice. But this is a fucking really good video game.
It is. It's a very, very solid game. It to me, I made the point to you when we started talking. I feel, and I'm pretty sure this is just the original Ninja Turtles video game was good in a lot of sense. It was extremely hard,
Yeah.
but it didn't capture enough of the Ninja Turtles. Like you didn't have, there wasn't enough weapons. There wasn't enough. Again, I like the game, but it just didn't have that cartoon feel. And again, we don't know if it was supposed to or not. But this game, I think, is built like that game, or it's built like a Mega Man game,
To me,
which is a very good. It's a good game. It's
Yeah,
a
it is
good.
good.
It's a solid, really good, well gameplay. Like it you got to be good at it. And as a kid, I was never good at these games, so this is a game I know I got, and then it got put away.
Well,
'Cause
what
I was so mad.
What stands out to me about this game? Because like, yeah, like it's. I mean, I do have some qualms with the controls, and we'll get there. But like, I do think it's fun to play. I like the way it looks. I love the fucking soundtrack to this game. It's one of my favorite soundtracks on the NES.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's fucking bangs. It's really
Okay,
good.
to counterpoint that, I think it's good. I think it's good for the game that it is, but it had nothing to do with Batman.
No, but like,
Again,
but hey,
but
if you want to tie it back to being like Batman, as a diehard Ghostbusters fan, that entire video game just plays a horrible pixel version of that theme over and over again. So if my choice, if my choice with this game is weird
Yes.
other music or the Batman
Yes.
theme over and over again, I'll take the weird other music.
I agree with you.
And
Yes,
so
will
I
agree
like
with
the
you.
music. And to me, honestly, my absolute, and I never say this about video games, period. And I can't imagine I'll ever say this about an NES game again. My absolute favorite thing about this game is the graphics. It really, like the backgrounds, how dark everything is most of the time. It looks like you're in
Yeah.
dark alleys and in dark buildings and stuff like
It's Batman.
They
did it
really
right. They,
capture
they
that.
did it right. They
Yeah.
did that. They did get that right. Like the graphics are solid. Like Batman looks like Batman. Like he's kind of blue, whatever. They gave him a different color, obviously, because they were going to go dark on everything else, which isn't. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
It's
not at all.
still, but the gameplay itself and everything like that is really, really solid.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
like,
it's a fun, hard fucking game.
yeah, like to me, because I'm looking at a picture of it right now, like Batman's purple. And they basically either had to make Batman purple or a different
the
color,
background.
or they had to make the backgrounds. And to me, I would rather have those dark, evil backgrounds and then make Batman a
yeah.
little bit more colorful
Totally
than make
agree.
Batman
Totally
dark
agree.
against like a fucking
It's
like
not
a
daytime.
shopping mall.
You can't have Batman in the daytime. That's not how Batman works. Because
Right.
everybody would just see him and go, "What the fuck? Why is Batman out running around?"
Like it's wild.
2:00?
Like I'm looking at a picture right now, and like literally 2/3 of the screen is black, like just black. But it works.
Yes.
And it wouldn't work on any other game. I'd be like, you lazy pieces of shit. You just didn't want to animate a background in, so you just made
Right,
the background
right.
black. But for Batman, it works perfectly.
Yeah, it's Gotham. Gotham's very dark. It like to go back quickly. I just wanted to make a point. Like I think Batman, even though we kind of got into it late in the sense of saying that this was like loosely based on the movie, I think one reason why I did buy this game was because of that movie. I like, hey, you and I just discussed it. I'm turning 40 this year, and as a kid, I remember this movie being like the first movie being at that age where you're like, wow, like this was like the original superhero movie that was good
Yeah,
and
agreed.
had a killer soundtrack. It was one of those movies that did really, really well. Like Prince did the soundtrack. Adam, you should listen to it. Yeah, I think you would really enjoy it, actually.
I think my
but-
favorite. I like. Actually, I do like Prince. Like, what was it?
Oh,
Kiss
yeah.
from a Rose.
That's Seal, but that's
I just don't know anything about music, and Brad does, and I try to irritate him with it sometimes.
yeah. And you won again.
I got you.
But anyways, to that point, like this game, I like remember being a kid, Adam. And I know you can confirm this. That logo was everywhere.
Yeah.
When you saw that dark black, like the suit with the yellow and everything like that, it was everywhere. McDonald's, T-shirts. If you didn't have a Batman T-shirt as a kid with just that logo on it, man, you were left out.
Yeah,
You were left out.
I
I
didn't
remember
even-
kids having that. Like not everybody had it, but if you had it, you were like, "Wow, that shirt's like crazy."
I
Like,
honestly like. I would consider myself a fair weather. Like I'm not the world's biggest Batman fan. I think he's fine.
Right.
Like I'm a
Right.
Spider-Man guy. I've always never
That's
hidden
fair.
that fact. I hate Superman. Batman's in the middle for me. But like, yeah, the logo's iconic. This is the era of Batman. I totally agree with that. I can get on board with all of that. And it was
Yeah,
rad to
and-
see them make a game out of him and not make it suck. Because Spider-Man, dude, in the day, Spider-Man had some fucking stanky video games. And so has Batman.
Oh, yeah.
So has Batman.
Oh, yeah.
But this
Oh,
game
yeah,
was like,
like-
because you're right. This is one of those rare instances where I guarantee you people bought this game just because of that iconic cover art, the box, just with the Batman.
Yeah.
All it is the Batman logo that says Batman. And people are going to
Yeah.
buy it because they like Batman. The difference was you got it home and put it into your controller or your Nintendo. And unlike us Ghostbusters fans that just got completely fucked over by our favorite franchise, you Batman fans actually got like, if this game was not Batman, if this, just say this was fucking Mr. Hero. That was the name of
Yeah.
the game, and everything else was exactly the same. But it was the Adventures
Yeah.
of Mr. Hero. People would be like, "This is a good video game." Like it, there's just
Yeah,
to get
it's-
up and play it right now. It's a fun video game.
I totally agree with you, and I made this point before we started, and I'm gonna make this point now. I truly, honestly believe that this game was made without the designers actually watching the film. I think this game was in the can. I think this game was already like level design and everything was done. I don't believe, because the game itself is really, really good. but none of the game characters or anything other than Batman and the Joker were in the film.
Well, it says, dude, I'm literally reading right now. It says the art and dialogue in the game were changed from the prototype version to the final version to better reflect the look and events from the movie. So yeah, you're right. They just had a Batman game made and then decided to tie it in.
They added those and said, "Oh fuck, it's a Batman game. Let's go for it." Which again, I like the game. It's just not anything to do with it. Like in the end, the Joker. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if you remember in the movie.
Oh, you can listen. This game,
he shoots lightning for fuck's sake.
Yeah, this game is over 30 years old, and no one's ever gotten to the end of it. So you can spoil all you want. It's dude. What were we saying? Because we were joking about the ending scene of the game, and I'll let you explain why the end of the scene's wrong. But I said the reason I think the end scene from the game is so bad is because they just threw it in the last minute, and they were like, no one's ever gonna fucking get here anyway. It's like Ghostbusters. Well, yes. The last scene in Ghostbusters is a misspelled congratulations screen, and it's awful. But I guarantee you, the developers were like, oh fuck, no one's ever gonna get here. Who fucking cares?
No one's gonna play this game, and it's not even because it was hard. It's just not good. They're like, no one's gonna finish this. They're gonna throw it out anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They were just like, who fucking cares?
You know what? It's something that you and I joke about a lot, but with that misspell in the game, it's like if you and I were in there and you looked at me and said, "Hey, look at this! I'm gonna put this in the game.
Yeah.
It's spelled wrong."
Like,
and we would just kill ourselves laughing,
yeah,
knowing that that's in the game because we think no one's gonna see it, and if you do, it just sums up the game.
And at the end, what I mean? Exactly. But it was like at the end of this, and I really do. I will say, like, and we'll get into this game, like the gameplay and the levels, just like that in a minute, because I can get pretty far to this game. I went through a phase where I was playing it like crazy. I played it on Twitch one night. I don't remember why, and I really got like. I was getting pretty angry at it at times, but I also got really into it. And then I actually played it pretty regularly for about a week, and like I wasn't stopping playing it. And I could never beat it. There's a boss near the end that I can't beat, and I'll explain what that is in a second. But now I want to see this ending because I have seen like the still screens of him like confronting the Joker, and like you said, it's so horribly just superimposed in to try to make it like the movie, and it's not even like the movie.
Well, the greatest quote, like a quote from the movie that a lot of people remember is, "Do you dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" That's what Joker says to Batman in multiple scenes of the movie. He kills his parents, obviously, and everything like that. And at the end of the game, because I watched a guy do a playthrough on YouTube to pretty much figure out this game, because there's certain aspects of the game that I couldn't remember. And I thought there was other different levels and stuff, but there wasn't. We'll get to that after. But in the end cutscene, he's holding Joker, and he says to him, "I know you murdered my parents. Now you will dance with the devil in the pale moonlight." And he punches him and he throws him off the building, which is the church, which is, again, in the film. But he never said that to him. He never said that to him at all. He just, again, these guys did not see the movie, or they did, and they released this before it, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. And they just said, fuck it, add these in. It's a Batman game. We're doing this. It's out.
I love it. Yeah,
and I do too. This is the great, like, we've discussed this before. This is the best part of this era of video games, because we didn't have anything, no Twitter, no nothing.
No.
You just played it, and then this happens.
But with the end of the game,
you go, yeah, you get to the end of the game, and you're well, we didn't because it's too hard.
No,
but I just think of a kid sitting there who actually is sweating and did it. He did it. His hands are sore, and that comes up, and that's the end, and it goes to credits. Because, by the way, it shows him laying there dead. Doesn't look like Jack Nicholson at all. Whatever. And then it just goes credits, and then it's the list of things.
It's so funny because if that happened today. Like, if you made a game that was, like, super hard, and then people beat it, and then you just fucked with us, people would light it up. But it's so funny because back then, it was almost like, because I beat the odd really difficult game when I was a kid. Like, Bart versus the Space Mutants is a hard video game, and I can beat that game in my sleep. Like, I beat that game as a kid. And the ending sucks. Like, basically, they're just like, the aliens leave, and that's it. But it's like, for some reason, back then, it wasn't even about what the ending... It was almost like they threw the ending scene in, like... The morning they had to send the game to the printer to make the game, they were just like, oh, fuck, we forgot. Yes. Like, just show a title screen in the end. I don't know, just type something down quick and no time to spell check it. Get it in there and go. But people didn't even care because you were just excited that you were able to beat this fucking game that was so hard. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's why when, again, not aging ourselves, but every friend I know that is my age, your age, everything like that, we react differently to winning video games because of how we grew up. It's like anything in life. It's like anything in life. You react differently as because you grew up a certain way. Like, I'll give you an example. The other night, MLB The Show, which you own and I own and everything like that. Yesterday, I hit a walk.
Oh, sorry. Wait, just for the record, I don't own it. I play it on Game Pass. I didn't have to buy it. Some of you,
yeah.
Oh,
okay,
right.
Yeah,
that's
you.
Right. Sorry, you bought it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Anyways,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks for bringing that up again. But I hit a walk-off home run in the ninth.
Right.
And I got up and I fist pumped and watched my guy walk the bases, and I was jacked up.
Yeah.
Because you know what, it was great, and it's like, I think for us, when we did finish it, I remember watching my friends finish games, and like we would like cheer and just like be so involved into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost today.
Well,
to a certain degree,
not to,
and because people again they have their outlets to bitch and moan and. And it's just not the same.
Well, not to throw shade, because there are difficult games today. Like, I can't play Dark Souls to save my life. But having said that, like, there is something about this, like, I don't know if it's a badge of honor or what it is, but anyone that grew up, particularly NES, because even by the Genesis Super Nintendo era, the games were getting a little bit easier. We had more save files and stuff like that.
Well, we were older too. Yeah, like
right.
it was more advanced.
But if you grew up in the 80s, early 90s, if you played the NES, I don't care if it's Batman, if it's Ghostbusters, if it's Ninja Turtles, if it's Battletoads, pick your difficult game. There's Blaster Master, whatever. It's like there's something about, it's going to be too hard for you to beat more than likely, but you're okay with it. You accept the difficulty, you rage in the moment, and then you come back to it and do it again. And then when you do beat it, there's a certain sense of accomplishment. Like that, I can beat the original Mega Man fairly easily. And a lot of people can't beat the first Mega Man. And I'm like, and I know that if they release that game as like an indie game today, people would be like, this sucks. It's too hard and no one can beat it. But back then you're just like, anyone that grew up with that, it's something about any NES games get like a free pass. Where we're like, it's okay that they're too hard because we like them. And
you know what I mean?
Shit,
there's games that are just garbage, but we're like, I still want to play it. I want to play it one more time. And I think that's a different era and age. But before you finish, I have to bring up the point where when you were on Twitch raising money, I witnessed, because I was 2 minutes before you did it, when you passed that level in Battletoads.
The speed bikes.
The speed bikes, yes. And I now, me personally, I remember speed bikes. It was in the Game Boy version. I had the Game Boy version, and that game was fucking hard too. But watching you do it, and you sitting there for a minute, as old as you are now, you could feel it in the, like, and this may sound stupid, but I believe that your followers will understand it, especially from that age group. And if there's younger ones listening, you could feel it in the room that you did it.
Yeah.
Like you did it. Like you sat there for a minute and you went quiet. And that's not you. Anybody that listens to this knows Adam Blank doesn't go quiet, but he just sat there and he goes, I did it.
Yeah.
And like you were dead within seconds in that next level because you were still in the moment. And like, you were like, okay, I can't believe I did that. And then you died. And then it didn't even matter that you died. You just sat there and you're like, I did it.
Yeah. It was, and that's the thing about this era is like that even I mean, listen, you guys all know what a hard on I have for the Super Nintendo in that era, but like even from the Super Nintendo compared to the NES, there's something about NES games that are difficult, whether they're good or bad. That's not the point. There's this sense of you want to be. It's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're kind of sick in the head that you want to play these games that are almost impossible to fucking beat because you know how off you're gonna get if you beat it, right? And it's more about putting the work in. We didn't have the internet to look up how to do things, and we didn't have not cheat codes or whatever. Like a prime example is a good friend of mine has two boys who are 12 and 10. And they went to a lake and they had an old Nintendo. And he just looked at it and he said, you two, come here. Fired up the TV. He said, turn this on. He said it was hilarious to watch them try and like load up a Nintendo because they'd never done it before. Right.
They saw the games. They're like, well, how does this work, Dad? And they're like, well, he's like, figure it out. And so they were watching him and a buddy were watching their kids try and do this. His two kids sat down and he plugged in Mario 1. And he goes, beat it. play it and beat it. And they were looking at it and they're like, well, this is like really old. And he's like, yeah, beat it. He said within a half hour, 45 minutes, these two kids were screaming at each other, almost fighting. His wife had to break it up, and he just sat there and goes, what's wrong? He goes, because they couldn't either. They got by a level, and they're like, well, how do you save? Oh, no. Like, you got to keep working. You just got to put the work in. And like you said, when it came to the Super NES and Genesis, we started seeing advancement in video games where they're easier. Yeah. They're harder, but it's easier because we do have save points now. We do have these things. And these old games, like, yeah, it got to a point where you could save, but no, you couldn't. You had to sit and go, I'm up on Saturday morning. I guess I'm going to try and finish this and play the whole day.
And that's how you tie it. And that, like, and so to bring it back to Batman, like, because, like, yeah, there are bad hard games that we played anyway, mostly because it was the only game you had, but also because there's something about the bragging of beating it. But then when there was the good hard games, and Batman is one of it. Like, this is like, when I sit down, I can literally, good game. Like I said, I've been playing it I haven't played it now in a few weeks, but I was really into it for a couple weeks there. And I was like, dude, this is just like it handles, I have one major criticism, and I'm going to get there right now because we're going to get into the game. But for the most part, I was like, this is actually a really good game. It looks great. I already went over that. And it sounds great. I already went over that. You can tell who Batman is. You got to go through, you got to punch bad guys, but they did it in a way where it doesn't get old or anything. One of the things I really, really like about this game, and frankly, like, you have to learn how to use it, is Batman's weapons. And I will say, because he has like the batarangs, he's got this like triple spread shooter, and then he's got a gun. I don't ever remember Batman having a gun, but I assume it's not like a bullet gun. It shoots probably like bat bullets or fucking something like that.
It doesn't matter. This isn't Batman.
No,
so it doesn't. It's just not. And again, it is what it is. But when you're talking about gameplay, yes, you had to learn how to use these different things, and like. This game just reminds me a lot of Mega Man in a lot of ways, and I
think it's hard. I think it's harder than Mega Man.
Well, I don't know if I agree, because I hate Mega Man. You're
crazy.
See, no, because I can't play it. That's different. I know it's good. That's what I'm saying, though. Is I know they're great games. I'm just not good at those, and they're so frustrating. I've watched you play it online. If you haven't watched Adam's Twitch, watch it. It's fun.
I'm very angry.
Easy plug.
Yeah. But with this game, you have to learn how to use those weapons. You have to, because like Batman, basically 100%. All he does is jumps and punches. But then you get these three weapons, and I this seems like such a normal mechanic today, but this was a cool thing back then. It was just like, well, as long as you pick up more of those little bats, because like every bad guy you kill, or I don't know if everyone does. I think every bad guy you kill, if not everyone, basically all of them drop like ammo, and you pick up like this energy, and your energy caps out at 99. But then you can use any of your three weapons anytime you want. And what I love about this game, and I really think this was a great choice by the game developers, is the way they constantly are filling up your energy to use those special weapons. Because normally, like I am as cheap as it gets with my power-ups and my weapons in most games, because I'm afraid of using them, because I'm afraid I'm going to need them more later. And I'll get stuck in a part and not be able to beat it, and I still won't go to my weapons that I have, because I'm like, well, I might need these for a later part. And it's like, hey, dickhead, you can't beat this part. Use the fucking weapons. Whereas in Batman, you quickly learn, and that's something you get over very quickly, is they're always dropping energy and they're always dropping ammo. So they're like, dude, no. You're going to need these fucking weapons. And you don't have to just save them for the bosses, and you do need them for the bosses. But you don't have to save them for the bosses, because we're going to keep filling them up for you with the expectation that if you don't utilize these weapons to beat these levels, after about 3 levels, you're completely fucked. Fucked.
And to that point too, is that it was smart of the game, because if you didn't add the ammo, that you wouldn't get by level 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a brilliant, and this is a huge positive for this game. They said, we're going to reward people with weaponry in this game as they go along all the time. We're still going to still make it really hard.
Well, they threw
you see, you do level up, and like, you not level up, but you like, once you learn that factor, the game does become a little bit easier.
Well,
but
especially after the first level or two, then you start to hit there's a lot of portions in this game where you're climbing platforms or jumping from platform to platform, and there's bad guys waiting on the next platform. And a lot of them are like these little, there's these little shitty caterpillar looking fucking tanks, and they go really slow, but then when they see you, they run at you. And like your best bet is to just pick them off before you even get there with like the batarang. And and again, it's telling you like use your weapons.
But now you gotta, and again, you gotta jump, like the parts where you have to like jump, and they're waiting at the top. Now you gotta jump and fire.
Yeah.
And hope that the game registers that. Because again, we're still playing a Nintendo. Yeah, right? You might hit that button and it might not work.
Another shout out to what the developers did in this game is like, I feel like the jumping it's not exactly like a Castlevania or a Ninja Gaiden. All I'm saying is that like the jumping is a little precise, it's a little tricky. The difference is if you miss a jump in Ninja Gaiden, you die. Like you fall into the game and you die. Whereas in this game, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time when you miss a jump, you just fall further down in the level and can climb back up. And I know
I love. The games, you and I agree on this in the sense when I hate fucking games when you're climbing up, but everything that you left now becomes like lava and you die.
Yeah, there's
like if you go out of the screen, you're dead.
And there's so many games like that. And I don't
brutal.
know.
It was brutal.
Yeah,
especially during the Nintendo era when you were like, oh, you got to go up, but if you go back down, you die. But it's like, well, why?
I don't know anything about game development. I don't know how hard it is to make one big open scrolling level where you can go back and forth anytime you want. But like,
that's a great question to try and find out from somebody.
Dude, to have played in the early days and know that like once you get past something, you're dead if you fall. And then to go to a game where like if you fall, you're frustrated because you're like fuck, but at least you didn't lose a life. You just have to climb up and try again. God, especially because there's actually a fair amount of platforming in this game, and it's not all just fighting bad guys. There's a lot of jumping, like the wall. Anyone that's played this game, like because I hadn't played this game, dude. I played this game when I was little, and then I had not played it until a couple months ago when I fired it up. And I still remembered that it had wall jumping because it just is such an iconic thing. Yeah,
there's certain things I remembered about this game before I fired up the video when you asked me to do this game. I'm like, oh yeah, I had it. I just remember it being really, really hard. And there was a lot of the wall jumping.
But the problem is the wall jumping, like, and that's if I have a major, I don't mind that this game is hard, okay? I can't beat it or haven't beat it yet. And I won't shit on it, particularly when it comes to the NES. Like, I don't think I would come out and shit on it. If I'm going to shit on a game for being too hard, it's probably going to be because I don't think the game, I was pretty hard
on. It's just bad.
Yeah. Like, I've been pretty hard on Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think that game's fucking hilarious, but I think that game handles like a bag of shit, and that's what makes it so hard. Whereas this game, I don't think it handles bad for the most part. It's just difficult, which by design. But I will say, the wall jumping is such a critical mechanic, and I love the wall jumping in this game. But the general jumping by Batman is fucked, because when you hit jump, he basically always goes at the same angle at the same distance. And so
he's got white man vertical. It's horrible.
It drives me crazy.
And I think that's one of the things I want to bet early on in video game development, especially in these games, you would have to think, Adam, like they make the guys jump really high, and then they go, okay, we got to tone that down because it makes the level really easy.
Oh,
and they try and find that balance of how high.
Yeah.
And this guy's jumping ability is like he's blown an ACL and had it repaired, and it's not the same because he can't jump.
Well, he jumps, but it's all forward. He long jumps.
Yeah. It's not like up and down. He has no straight up and down like it's always just you're still moving in that like the direction you're supposed to be moving.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
And you
gotta time it.
You brought up a great point, and I actually I've thought about how hard it would be to balance difficulty in a game before many, many times. But you're right. I don't know why I've never really thought about that, but like to design how a character jumps in an action adventure platforming game must not be easy, because you're right. If you make it too easy to jump, then you basically you kind of break the game. But if you make it that they can't jump at all, it's too hard. That said, I do think that the jumping in this game leans a little too far toward the not good side of the scale than it does the good side, because he jumps at these weird 45-degree angles, and there's a part a little bit later on in the game. There's one part in particular I'm thinking of where you're on these like conveyor belts and there's spikes and shit, like all that normal stuff.
Yeah.
But there's one part where there's this like long column on the left side of the level where you come across to it, and then there's spikes on both sides of the wall. So you have to fall down this hole, but you have to kind of aim it right into the middle. And I find it so fucking hard because Batman jumps like a fucking psycho, and instead of him just doing like a Batman, like just you literally would have to just almost step off the ledge, but you have to jump a little bit, and then he jumps
and
weird.
you're gonna hit, and you always hit. Like it's.
If I'm not mistaken,
I agree with you.
I started to learn that like if you're holding forward when you jump, he jumps like at almost like a 40-degree forward angle. If you just jump straight in the air and then push forward, and I may be talking on my ass, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. If you jump straight up in the air without touching any directions, then push forward, then he'll kind of do just like he'll move forward a couple inches. And there's nothing wrong with either of those mechanics. The problem is that so many people like myself probably grew up playing Mega Man and grew up playing Mario and stuff where we're used to being able to hold forward and jumping. And in this one, you can't.
Well, yeah, like that's the thing that's why this game was tough, because when we were 10, you figured that out now. You know what I mean? At your age now. And you don't even know if that could be your eyes, Adam. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I think he's doing this because this is still a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Like that sound, like I'm not saying that's a stretch, but it's a stretch because it's like, it's still a Nintendo game. But I get like, that's the thing, right? It's like, there's times in these games where you did jump differently and you felt you were doing the same thing. It just visually, you're like, okay, he jumped better that way. Did he? Or was that just the normal jumping you think?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like but that's what makes this fun.
It's fun.
And you know what I mean? Like it's just, that's the fun part. And that's why I love doing this with you, man. It's just these little things where you're like, I think I can jump better.
Well, what irritates
if I
me,
hit the button first.
What irritates me about the jump, but also works is that like, I'll die because of a bad jump, and the jump is because Batman jumps like a fucking weirdo, and I'll be like, God damn it. But also half of 50-50. Half of me is like, well, that's not my fault. He fucking jumps like an idiot. But the other half of me is like, well, he's gonna jump like an idiot every time I push jump. So it's on me to practice until I'm good enough to make these jumps with his weird idiot jumps. It just takes a lot of, and dude, I can imagine if you were to pick this game up now and play it for the first time in your life, I promise you, any of you that have never played this game, I don't think it's on anything. I won't lie to you guys, I had to add it to my NES Classic because I don't believe it's on sale anywhere because a lot of licensed games are. But if you ever play this game, if you've never played it before, the first time you jump, you're going to be like, holy fuck, what the shit is wrong with his jumps? And it's like, I don't know.
Because he jumps, but it's like he doesn't jump.
But
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's just really, it feels like it was there because it wasn't. Because again, I'm going to go under the assumption that they played around with the jumping. That's how games work. I don't know.
No.
But like it's one of those things where it makes it. It's one of the most frustrating things about this game, and I think that's one of the reasons why, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, it's that collecting dust for me. But it's that I would get angry.
But I think that's why, because I didn't own this game as a kid. I do remember playing it. We must have rented it a few times. I never owned it.
Right.
But this is one thing about this game where, like, despite the fact that it's super hard and despite the fact that Batman jumps like an idiot and all that stuff, I think the reason I keep coming back to it is, and I would say this about any video game, even up to today, as long as there's continuity in the controls and I feel like it's the same thing over and over, then I'm like, all right, well, now it's on me to figure out how to make these controls work. And that's one thing I will give to this game. What is Batman? Like, what is He's like a super black belt, whatever ninja, right? Like in real life, like that, the character Batman is like a martial art, whatever, I think.
No, not really.
No, yes, he is.
He is. Yes,
he's like trained in all this like shit. And like, he's obviously he's a trained fighter, obviously. Like he knows how to fight.
Well, yeah, he was kind of trained by ninjas for sure.
Right.
But he uses he's very smart, and he uses weapons.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's always been my major criticism of Batman is that I'm like, he's not a hero. He's just a rich guy that bought a whole bunch of superpowers. But then,
he didn't buy superpowers. He kind of.
But no. But
have you seen? When's the last time you watched any of these Batman movies? Though
the originals.
Yeah,
I don't know
any of them.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've seen them all, but
well, then your assumption about Batman should be different. Like,
because you remember, like, sorry guys, we're not going to get on a tirade here, but like, wasn't it in the third Batman, like whatever the one was with Bane, The Dark Knight Rises? Like didn't he go back to like where he like trained or something and he got like his back broken and all this kind of stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying is that like I'm not saying that he can't fight. He's obviously like a world-class athlete and a great fighter and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's just that shit like the Batmobile, shit like his cape, shit like his Batarang, all this stuff. Like he doesn't have superpowers. He just has all these inventions. And for a long time, I used to hate on him for that. But I'm also a very big Iron Man fan, and Iron Man is almost worse because Iron Man isn't even like a world-class fighter or anything. He's just a rich guy in a.
Worse.
He's just a rich guy
in a lasers and rockets.
So I can't shit on him for that. But the point I was trying to make is I'm just a little bit flustered as to how this guy has all these great tools and he's a great fighter and all this stuff, but then they made him jump like I did in the 3rd grade. Like he just like the jumping is so weird.
It's terrible.
But you nailed the point. If the jumping was normal, I think this game would be very easy. So it kind of
you would have been done this game. You would have been done this game in if he jumped like Mario. Come on.
Yeah, and I will also say shout out to whoever and I don't know who it was, but whomever decided he should be able to wall jump, killed it because wall jumping in any video game is awesome. And in this game, and it's so funny because like of all the things Batman can do, I don't ever remember watching him wall jump.
No, he's never done that.
Right? Like I'm a little surprised that they wouldn't not put the wall jump in and instead give you the ability to like use your cape and float down.
Well, that or use like if you needed to move up, like use bat gun,
the grappling hook.
The grappling hook. Yeah,
like I'm surprised that they gave him the wall. But I will say the wall jumping is so satisfying when you stick it feels so good. This goes
back to my original point. This isn't Batman.
Yeah,
like it's Batman, but it's not, and it's okay because it's still a good game.
Yeah,
it's just not Batman.
Yeah, it's just like
weird. This game is to me. It's a. Is it fair to say to compare it like if it's a shittier Mega Man?
Yeah, I mean,
like it's a Mega Man game. It's Mega Man, but they made him look like Batman. It's just different.
See, I don't 100% agree with that because the Mega Man games, like you go and get all those different weapons, and the order you collect your weapons completely changes the way that it plays.
No, I'm just saying gameplay. I'm just saying gameplay from scrolling to jumping to shooting to doing all that, like the electricity, all that, like. They literally pretty much took one of those games and said, all right, let's just slap a logo on it. And again, I'm not saying this game is bad. It's a good, solid game. It just has nothing to do with Batman,
right? Technically.
But
it's, but you're right though. It's a good game. And particularly like, dude, you can't look up a list of best NES games and not find Batman on it. And I don't mean like top 10s, but once you get into like top 50, top 100s, whatever, Batman is going to be on all those lists. And
you summed it up.
What?
You summed it up perfectly. This game could have come out as Mr. Hero and it would have sold and be on those lists.
Yeah.
Like it just would be. They just happened to throw Batman logo on it and say this is a Batman game and that's fine. But yeah, no, you're right. The jumping is it's not atrocious, but it's atrocious. It's like if you gave me an extra just a little bit of height.
It's tough.
Just a little bit.
It's like it's funny because I was gonna say it's tough but fair, but I was like it's tough but almost fair because it's like I say it's the consistency of it that makes it okay. Those 3 weapons, I do wish that. Okay, so there's a couple of things that. There's one thing I wish was in it more, and that was I wish you had the ability to pick up more weapons, but. I understand that they're implying that Batman wouldn't normally pick up weapons. He'd have them that he brought with him, like in his utility belt and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm fair with that. I will say I am ecstatic that they did not put a Batmobile level in this game because I hate when I want to play an action platformer game and then you make me do stupid ship levels.
I totally disagree with you.
See, and I was going to say, and I know some people like that. But I've played too many of these games where I don't want that stuff.
And the only argument I have for this is that, dude, like it's supposed to be Batman. You couldn't do a top view Batmobile where you're shooting cars and like enemies, and then have like who doesn't want to like? Do you remember? Like I remember going to see Batman in the movie theater, and the first time I saw the Batwing when he flew, that originally seeing that movie in the theater is like the first time as a kid just remember like seeing things differently. You know what I mean? Like it just registered differently in the sense like this movie's so cool in the sense like it was like Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the guys in the suits, and you're like, this is a movie. You started like at that age, you started to realize what things like how movies. I don't know that just that genre of movies, how good it was, and how good it could be.
But my counter argument,
I'm just saying you're missing certain aspects where I think throwing in a driving level, like an overhead top view where it's pretty much like Galaga, where you're just kind of moving back and forth, shooting cars and stuff, just to give you a little bit of a break from the shitty jumping and like those levels. Okay,
but
I think would have just been break it up a little bit.
But that's my counter argument is that some games do that, and I'm like, why did you have to? And I'm just gonna use like one example that comes to my mind right away is Super Mario Land on the Game Boy is a fucking awesome game. But there's 2 or 3 levels where you just have to like ride in a submarine and shoot, and it's like, and I understand that makes more sense with Batman because he does have the Batmobile and all that. But I'm like, dude, I just want to like it's an action platformer. Let me action platform. Don't waste
what's wrong with that though?
That's just me. I would prefer to just
it's
like
it's
I'm
a
like
nice
stay in your lane.
And it's a different thing for your character to do. That's all I'm saying is I
get
the idea
it. I think I'm in the minority of it. I think I'm in the minority, but I prefer
I kind of think you are. It's like the Switch game. You didn't like the different levels where you weren't you were doing different things.
But you bring the Switch game.
Or sorry, the Mario Odyssey.
Oh,
because you did do different things in
some games I do, but some games I don't. And it's like you keep comparing it to Mega Man. Well, I can't remember. I want to say it was Mega Man 5. There's a couple of parts where you I think you hop into Rush. That's his dog, and he's like a submarine, and it becomes an auto scrolling level where you're just shooting and jumping in this car where you can't move. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I want to be Batman. Like I want to punch bad guys and climb walls. So like. I maybe I'm in the, and obviously it didn't hurt the legacy of the game because most people consider this to be a good video game, and I agree. But I'm of the take of like, I don't want Batmobile levels. Dude, did you play Batman Arkham Knight? It was like the last Batman game that came out. It was fucking spectacular. But the Batmobile parts, like when you're the Batmobile, it's kind of fun. When you have to do the Bat Tank, it fucking sucks because it's like, I just want to play as Batman.
I agree with you in that sense, but I did like the Batmobile parts.
Yeah.
I think it needed to be, they didn't put a lot of work into that. I think it needed to be cleaned up. Like if you could have did it more like GTA in the Batmobile where you're driving to the next part where you're kind of going through the city a little bit better. Everything was really tight in that game. I think
I love that. I love that game. Yeah. I love those games.
I love that game too. I think it's one of the best games ever. But no, I personally think a little bit of a breakup in games is always nice. I think it kind of, because when you do get to that next level, you're like, okay, I'm back at this. Because when you're getting hit hard with this game, it's a hard game.
Yeah, but because it's so hard, I don't want to get like. Maybe this is going to sound stupid. I do think there's going to be people that agree with me and people that disagree with this take. But because this game is so hard and the jumping is so weird, but also very consistent. I spend the first 2 or 3 levels really getting kind of dialed in and getting like, all right, I'm fucking loose now. I am Batman.
You go the more technical nerd, and this isn't a shot at you. You go the more technical side. You're more about like, I've got this down. Now I'm ready. I want to keep going. Going.
I don't want to get cold.
Don't give me anything else. Don't give me anything else.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I respect that.
So that's
I would
me.
like to. You know what? Maybe on one of your shows, maybe get some feedback. I'd love to hear people's arguments on that.
Well, anyone that disagrees with me is fucking banned.
Well, that's fair.
I'm just kidding. Honestly, I agree with Brad. I'd be interested to know, like, because there are games where I like that, but when a game is this difficult, it's like Cuphead. I don't know if you've played Cuphead. It's a great current game, but it's really fucking difficult, and I love that game. But 9/10 of that game is just shooting at you. It's just boss fights and it's shooting and it's fun. And then they throw in these odd levels where you're kind of platforming, and the platforming games levels are fine, I guess. But I'm like, dude, this game is so difficult that it's like I'm so focused on, I'm in the zone, I'm dialed into this really hard part where I'm doing the shooting. Don't fucking take me out of that immersion now and make me learn this other skill set for 15 minutes and then make me go back to the first one. Maybe that's not the best example, but I'm of the mindset if I'm playing a really difficult video game, I want to just stick on that. Like, don't make me forget and I'm going to burn a life, when I come back into it.
That's why it's so difficult. That's why it's better.
No, you're wrong. But
that's because it's all about you. I know.
Yeah, goddamn right it is. This isn't Remember the Game featuring Brad fucking Warr and you son of... No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I am featured, aren't I?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're Robin. You're my Robin today.
I
knew that would get that reaction. Okay, so we disagree on a Batmobile stage, but we both agree that the game is pretty dope, although it's too hard.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening, just in case you're wondering, I keep saying that there's one part I keep getting to. There's a boss, I think it's pretty late in the game, where it's these 2 or 3 like big metal boxes. And it's like a machine, and they're on like these they're on like a preset track. And motherfucked if I can beat that boss. And that's as far as I can get. And I got to go back to this.
I'm pretty positive, Adam, that's right before Joker.
Yeah, I think it is. And I really want to beat this fucking game. So at some point I'm going to beat this fucking game. It's a what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I don't remember boxes in the movie, but that's fine.
You don't remember when he fought the boxes?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Having said that, though, it's a really difficult game, but it's really fun. There's a reason that it's on all these best lists on the NES, dude. There's so many. I feel like we talk about this every time the NES comes up. There are so many bad licensed IP games on the NES, but the good ones are phenomenal, and this is one of the good ones. As is another game that you and I are going to talk about in a minute on a different podcast, but. I think a shout out to Sunsoft for actually making a really good superhero game, a game that has stood the test of time. This game is not playable anywhere. It is not on anything. So if you want to play it, either go buy an NES copy somewhere or ROM that shit up. And I don't feel bad telling you that because there's no way for us to buy it from Sunsoft. And quite frankly, if you guys are going to hack your Nintendos and you are out looking for games to add, to the billionth degree, I recommend adding Batman to your NES because it is a really good fucking video game. As long as you're patient. Be patient. What do we score this?
Adam patient blank. That doesn't work.
Not at all. That's why I can't beat it because I'm not patient enough.
How about Batarangs out of?
Yeah, but how many?
10 Batarangs.
Well, no, I don't want to do out of 10 because I got everyone yells at me for doing out of 10s. You know what? Okay. The game came out in 1990 in North America. So out of 90, we'll go 90. I don't want to do 19.
Okay.
So out of 90 Batarangs, how many Batarangs do you give the original Batman, the video game, loosely based on the movie, starring the Joker that Batman apparently kills at the end, but doesn't have a Batmobile level?
Well, before we get to that, I have to point out one thing.
Yeah, sure.
That when the Joker does appear, he shoots lightning from the sky, and then he also has the giant gun, and he shoots at you. And it doesn't look like Jack Nicholson, and it's pretty brutal looking, to be quite honest. But again, the gameplay you see when you're fighting him, again, I watched a playthrough. The gameplay is still really, really solid. As a Batman game, I would give it, if it was based on the movie, forget it. Out of 90, I'm gonna give it 65. I think it's a good, solid Nintendo game. It's just the Batman stuff was kind of wonky to me. But I'd give it a 65 out of 90. It's a good game.
All right. Yeah, I'm probably going to, I'll go, I'm probably around that, probably about 7. I was going to go 75 out of 90, but that's like an 8 out of 10. Okay. Because if it was out of 10, I would give it an 8. So I'll go 75 out of 90. Because now for the record, I never once associated it with the movie, but I also have only ever seen that original movie once, and it was like, fucking 30 years ago, and I haven't seen it since.
Christ.
Because I spent all my time watching Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which are the vastly superior Batman movies.
That's fair. Bomb.
So I don't want to compare it to the originals, but having as someone that just likes video games, and as you all know, as someone that gets very angry when I get bad and can't beat video games, this one makes me angry, but I also really enjoy playing it. I keep going back to it. I think it's great. You just got to master Batman's jumping. So once you figure out his jumping, and I'll tell you guys, as a fucking diehard Ghostbusters fan, I'm envious of all you Batman fans that you got this instead of what we fucking got. So congratulations,
I agree.
Sons of
I
bitches.
agree on that. Also, to a fair point is that it's just, I think to you, this game doesn't have even though you beat the impossible twice when it comes to Punch-Out and Battletoads.
Oh, I have, for the record, just in case anyone doesn't know, I haven't beat Punch-Out. I was stuck on Soda Popinski forever, and I can beat him,
yes,
but I can't beat Punch-Out.
But that's what I mean. It's like you've beaten those certain parts. I think for you on this game, once you beat that, the crazy boxes from the film that you have to fight, you'll do it. I think you're going to do it. I really do.
Yeah, I want to.
Because this game is still beatable. I guess the best way to sum it up. This game's playable. Like, it's good. Like, it's just a really good game that's playable. It's hard, but if you put the work in, you succeed.
This is one of those games. This is like Ninja Turtles, which, like, if you haven't seen it, if you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/remember the game. I think it's Remember. Yeah. I have a walkthrough where I can beat the original Ninja Turtles on the NES without dying, without cheating out, nothing. I can beat it.
Oh, wow.
And that took a ton of practice. But that's and those are my favorite NES games, and that's where this game falls into that equation. If you're same as Contra, I can beat the 2 Contra games with a little bit.
Hey, it's a good thing you're not single, because wow, you being able to do that. Oof.
Oh, the ladies
girls would be lining up.
I know, it's brutal. Every time I bring it up on the podcast, Shaylee's like, "Stop it!" No, but like what I'm saying though is, like, with those classic NES games, my favorite NES games, I don't even give a shit how difficult you are, as long as practice means you will be able to beat it. Because there are some games, I'm looking at you, fucking Silver Surfer, that it doesn't matter how much you practice, you'll never beat that fucking game. Whereas this game, with enough practice, this game is beatable. I truly believe that, and it's not cheap. Doesn't fuck you over. It's like, these are your tools. Learn how to use them and practice, and you'll be able to beat it. And I love that.
It's almost like the Nintendo had 3 categories: really good, meh, and unplayable. And, like, in the sense of, not only was the idea bad, but it's impossible to beat. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, there's no point in playing it because everything is like just shit.
Yeah. No, this game's fucking killer, man. Fuck yeah. Other than I never thought of comparing it to the movie. Now I gotta go watch that movie again. Buddy, thanks for doing this. That was fun. Fucking
yeah, no worries, man.
And
thank you for having me as always.
You're a great Robin.
Yeah, you got it.
That's going to do it for this week's episode. Brad, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking Batman. And to every single one of you hot dogs out there listening right now, thank you so much for giving our show a chance. I really appreciate it, whether this was your 154th episode or your first episode. Thanks for hanging around. You know what? I never ask for these, but if you didn't hate this, please just throw us a quick 5-star review. I have no idea what they do, but more and more people are finding the show. I have to imagine reviews at least kind of help with our positioning in the algorithm. So just, if you're listening on a platform that offers reviews, just a quick 5 stars, show doesn't suck. That's takes like 3 seconds. I'd really appreciate that. Or if you really want to support us, consider signing up over on Patreon. And I know I feel the same way when shows plug Patreon. I'm like, I probably would like to do that, but I just can't be bothered. And Patreon's website does suck. But once it's done, it's done. It's only $2 a month. You get fucking dozens and dozens and dozens of podcasts instantly available on the service of your choice. You can download them onto your phone and stuff like that. Plus, you get Game Patch every Friday. You get Expansion Pass every Sunday. You can write into the show. You get access to our Discord. You get DM with me. Lots of fun stuff. And you support a little independent content creator. And really, at the end of the day, is that not what we all want to do? Is just support a little independent content creator? So patreon.com/remember the game. If you're interested, that's it. I got nothing else to plug, I don't think. No, I'm going to go. Good stuff. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll be back next week with episode 155. I'll be back on Thursday with the Rambling Idiot for some of our Patreons. I'll be back on Friday with Game Patch for all of our patrons. I'll be back on Sunday with Expansion Pass for all of our patrons. And then again, episode 155 is coming next week, which is another one of our revisited episodes where we talk about a game we talked about in the first few episodes of Remember the Game back. We didn't know what we were doing. And this one may or may not involve 16-bit sprite characters driving go-karts around throwing banana peels at each other. And I don't want to give it away. So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks for listening, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not produce all the content I'm churning out these days without all of your support. So I would like to take a quick moment to thank everyone that has supported us at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And a couple of quick footnotes. I record this at the beginning of the month, so if you sign up during the month of June, thank you very much. You'll get into July's month-end shoutouts because we're over 300 people, and I just can't fucking record this every week because it's a mile long. So 306 names, and I'm probably going to fuck a bunch of them up, and I'm reading them in a random order, so I don't know where you'll be in here, but a huge thank you to Danny Proudfoot, Lukey Mole, Joshua J. Hazelman, Swanee, Dan Taylor, The Gray Bearded One, Borrow, Tunable Power, Eden Awaits 1981, Burger Rock, Benjamin Johnson, Jared Bouchelian, Kyle Dodd, PP Poo Poo, Cuckoo Pants, Kaiser Dragon, Ryan Groinus, Rob Strothman, Astro Alpaca, Daniel, The Shauner Honor, Trapper Keeper 1000, Leon Nabskog, Master Boyd, Darth Obvious, Paul Holder, Nerdy Retro Gamer 86, Daniel Stildum, Lee Evans, Kenneth Michael Brown, Emily Luna, Jerry Robinson, Branklin Jeers, Tristan, Game Nomad Messi, David Moore, Broken Spoilers, Matthew Day, Plucky B, Super Dave, Owen the Game Fur, Chuck, Brianamite, Joe Kirby, Dale Baker again, Ian Watch, Jeff Bergeron, Paul, Ronnie Sachs, Hammond Egger, Josh Valentini, Chance McCoy, Sean Radford, Karth from KOTOR, Scott Roseberry, Shannon Willis, Astral Soul, Big G, Classic Crusade, Chris Story, Russell Aldridge, El Sock, Adam Fair, Tom Maya, Oprah's Iron Fist, The Old Man of Gaming, A Sharp J, Lee Sparks, Zonko 504, Scarlett, Kyle Bolton, Chris Freeman, Tom Calvert, Seth Mayfield, Jose E. Marco, Titan 420, S2 Von 5000, Bones 02, Guest House Productions, K Cuz, Candido, Born to Do It, Daniel McKee, Dan Wagner, Elijah 232, Joseph Gonzalez, Tim Chambo, Captain Cool, Explode Processing, Nathaniel Shelley, Swedish Fish, Omega 88, Tense Sparkster, John DeShazo, Squints, Gary Heather, Corey Street, David Phillips, I Worked at Subway, Raul Aguiar, Joel LeBlanc, Johnny CCDC, Wolf Magic 2K1, Paul Zoe, Fob, Kerry Waka Waka, Ryan McCown, Trevor Seven Oaks, Mike Burks, Nathan Freak, Too Loud for the Crowd, Pizza Power, Matt McLean, Doogie, Logan Hale, Jay Mix MC, Cody Poland, Murat Pepper, Spencer C. Weiss, Chris Coplin, Electronic Emotions Program, K-Jam, Lord Finish, Aaron Baker, Dane, Goth C, Good A, Mega Man 2 OG, McJunior, Jafar, Rogue Agent, Kinslayer, Thor the Hammered, Stefan Fukasawa, Joshua Davis, John Byrne 86, Andy Hudson, Retro Bismal, Sam Wright, Seriously Rob P, Derpimus Prime, Mr. Meeseeks 0406, Ninja Lunchbox 79, Wolfgang Darren, Boognish, Brendan Hine, Troy Zuniak, Brian Robbins, Ferdy Martinez, JP Retromania, AJ Freeman, AJ Jones, Kevin, The Anti-Spatial Podcast, A Novel Console, M. Felf, Zoo Troy, The Honest Pokemon Trainer, Sean Clifford, Pie Messiah, Jesse Clark, Kelly, Rodrigo Tomazzi, Derek Jane, Mercury 869, Mad Shibs, Potato Bob Guy, That One Kid Nick, Dana Wucherall, Amy Gillen, James Anderson, MPG in Buffalo, Pat Duddy, 8-Bit Boovie, Poops Loomis, Raging Demon, Mr. Satan, Tony Cherichetti, Silver Grunion, Peebs, Wolverine Films, David Schnatterer, Martin Greenwood, Dominic S. Thompson, Tim L., Adam Beasley, G9PSX, PB McFadden, Jared the Giraffe, Tim Rial, Starl Probin, Jay Clutch, Very Cool Dude, Vincent L., X Water, Retro Ghosty Ghost, Ryan Bayshore, Christopher Russell, Mike Maloney, Defunct, Tommy Reynolds, Ryan Kinchin, Arpad Bodos, Jerbear, S2S, Adam J, Zane Donovan, John Quack, Ryan Yeager, Morgan, Geek Life Radio, David Ray, Danny Vega, Tom Kite, Brian Medeiros, Andre SJA Flash, A-Town, Mark Jones, Nathan Tremblay, Chris Knife 007, White Burrow, Miles from BringBackRetro.com, Brian Ransom, Mr. Nick, Michael Hegg, The T-Word, Miklos Blackshaw, Aaron Lawson, Stitch, Dario Omen, Adam Oshirello, Jeff Johnson from Game on GNT, Craig Rutt, Leon K, Scott Brooks, Yamcha, Wyman Brooks, Chuck Schlarp, Chris Campbell, Brandon O'Brien, Mackenzie Wheeler, No One Cares, David Thompson, Dan T, Aaron Cuphall, Adam Anderson, Ben Busha, Matt Brown, Lil Buddy Fufu 89, Mark 209, Kyle Paul, Vlad Steed, Nick Sills, April Zane, Alex Martinez, Brian McKay, Fraser Burns, The Good Enough Gamer, Jason Cortez, Kevin Huffer, How, Dylan, Jordan, Desert Tortoise, Joe Mack, They Call Me Badger, Kate Roberts, Luca Rescanito, Divolk, Gary C, Andrew Wright, Rick Sheldon, Scott V, Charlie Medeiros, Josh Morgan, Chris Fleury, Doug Dorn, Evan Refuse, Slick Rick, Ben Booyah, Ashley Cronin Bitter, Nathan Warzica, Joe Gillespie, DNA Gaming, Dave McGee, Sean Razine, King Bahamut, Robert Lippa, James Clark, Chris Sumner, Keegs and his stupid arrow handle, Jeffrey Mathis, Joshua Shenfield, Fake McHugh, Michael Mathis, Tyler Freezer Burnt, Stupid Monkey, Andre Sharonic, Ben Drinkin, Joe Buck, Todd, Makeshift Money, and Dave. Holy ass. 5 minutes? Fuck me. It's best prop in the world to have. Thank you all so much for the support. Consider it a badge of honor if I fucked up your name, which is probably about 2/3 of you. Much appreciated. Talk to you soon. Cheers.